Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Vaults Remastered, my journey of discovery, of recreation, taking my old 5th edition D&D homebrewed game and converting it into Pathfinder 2nd edition remastered, which is due to be released, mid-November 2023. It's only like about a month from now, if that. So I am just going to be embarking on this journey of wholesale conversion. I have decided to blow up my old 5e world through some sort of cataclysmic events, which I've detailed in some earlier videos. I've then decided to recast this world as essentially the same environment, which is known as the Vaults, and it is my version of the Darklands of Pathfinder. Golarian world. It's the Underdark of the D&D realms. It's my spin on that. I've had plenty of inspiration from those two worlds already, but I've also brought in all kinds of other resources from other game systems and fused it all together to make my game world. But I have to remaster it because I'm kind of tired of 5e and I wanted to get into Pathfinder for various reasons, which I'm not going to bore you all with. But I'm doing it. And so I wanted to document this journey, and because maybe there's some stuff here that is useful for those of you out there that are also considering such a big drastic step, or maybe you just want to look about playing Pathfinder. I'm not going to get into some sort of how-to, and this is the way to do it, because quite frankly, I don't know. I'm just like a lot of you out there. I played Pathfinder a couple times, looked over the rules a little bit. I'm interested in it. And as the DM, now switching to GM, it's kind of my job to figure it all out, right? So that my players have a home to move to. So I'm just documenting what I'm doing, and hopefully there's some information here that'll be useful for you all to want to watch, follow that kind of stuff as I go through this. So today's video, the fifth one I believe I've recorded, is going to be once you've reset this world and you've started this new campaign theme world idea that's set in Pathfinder rule system, not the Pathfinder world, but the rule system, and you have decided on like what's possible as far as the plots go, and you've come up with a starting point for your players to get dropped off in this new world. The next question is, well, who's steering the ship? Who's piloting? Where are you going? So that is what this video is about. So let's stop talking about it and actually get into it. So who's got the wheel of the ship? You've launched your journey. Who is steering? Who is navigating the course? Who is setting the compass? Who is that in your game? And I'm sure as you're thinking about that, you're going, well, my players, of course, right? The PCs, they've got agency. They're the ones in charge of everything. Okay, I'm gonna say that is, dare I say, wrong, and we'll see. Well, why? Why is that? Let's go ahead and pop that back open. So who is the crew? This is what the big question is, because whoever's piloting the ship is, like the captain is the crew. Who is it? So in order to figure that out, you want to go back and look at the scope of your game. And I referred to the game mastery guide that Pathfinder has put out. On page 36, they've got information about a campaign structure, and that's what you see over here on the right side. So one of the first things you want to think about if you're trying to figure out who's in charge of my game and who's directing traffic is, well, what is the scope of the game? Are you just running some simple one night, two night, one shots? Are you doing a short little campaign that's going to last like a month or two? Is it some longer campaign? Maybe it's going to run about a year. Is it some grand epic thing that you and your buddies or whatever are doing for the next 5, 10, 20 years? What is the scope of this game that you have crafted, that you have woven? You got to think about that because it's going to help you figure out the answer to who should be directing traffic. So, if you are kind of narrowed in on a short campaign, some sort of closed railroady, linear pathway, uh, the PCs are not the ones that are steering the ship in that. it's definitely going to be you, the game master, because you have a very tight window of play and a very narrow scope, and your reach is not very far. So you're really going to have to drop those players off at the front door of the dungeon, let's say, and tell them where they got to go. So they're not going to be necessarily in charge of figuring out what to do next and where to go and what to look at. And then maybe you're thinking, well, maybe in an open game, a sandbox, that sort of a game, surely the players are in charge of that. Surely they're the captain of the crew or the crew of this ship that is launching through your game world. I'm going to tell you no, they're still not in charge. And that's because they are not in charge of the conflict. The conflict is with the antagonists. The antagonists are going to be more important than what the PCs, because even if you look at the PCs and you say, well, my PCs, they decide what to do each session, or what they want to do on their turn. Yeah, but it's all in response to the conflicts, to the things that they're trying to get that the other guy has. So no, they are not in charge. I'm afraid to tell you, it's not them. Well, then who is it, right? Again, if you take a look at some of the resources that Pathfinder has provided, the Game Mastery Guide on page 40 has some more information that'll give you a clue. This is the part about the adventure, planning your adventure, and it gives you some clues. And here's the excerpt from those pages 41, 43, 44. The style, the threat, and the motivation. You have to look at these things in your campaign, in your game. Is your style going to be some gritty, grimdark campaign? Well, who is the person or persons that makes it gritty? Who is the one that's out there that's savaging your PCs so that they have to heal themselves or they're starving, right? If there's some mystery that you've got going, what are the clues leading to? Who are the clues about? It's not the PCs. Think about the threats. If the threat to the world is it's going to be devastated, well, who's destroying it? If your threat is there's some extremist groups out there, well, who are those people with extreme views? I bet you it's not the PCs. And then the motivation. Who wants what the PCs want? Who is obstructing the PCs? Whose wants are the PCs trying to stop and foil? If you go to my metaphor here, or my analogy with the boat, the water's what's directing the flow of the ship, right? In other words, it's the NPCs, it's potentially the bad guys, it's maybe allies, it's all the other players, actors in the game are what's actually driving it. And who has control of those people? You do, the GM. So yeah, I'm not saying you're railroading your players and telling them what they're going to do, but you are behind the curtain manipulating all the pieces, and you're hopefully, if you do this correctly, your PCs think they're in charge, right? They think that they're setting the sail and steering the boat. Au contraire, mon frere, no, 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 they are not. It's your NPCs which are controlled by you. And being the magnanimous GM that you are, of course, you're going to give your players agency to make decisions. But just like I talked about in Destroying My World, it was that agency I gave to the players that they used to destroy the world and help me reset it the way I was thinking about resetting it. So at the end of the day, you, the GM, are steering the ship, and you're doing so through your NPCs who are obstructing what your players and their characters want to do. That's how the system really works. Now, why is this important and why is this true? We got to remember that the NPCs, they have agency as well as the players do, perhaps more agency. And if you look at their nature of your NPCs, regardless of what they are, if they're an enemy, they're an ally, they're some neutral party, they want something. And they want it as bad as the PCs do, right? They're willing to cross swords and die to defend their lair against some PCs coming in to steal stuff. They're willing to put their lives on the line, probably more than the PCs, right? At the end of every session, who has died more? Probably your NPCs, probably your monsters. So yeah, they've got agency. They're in it to win it. So think about that. And because if this is true, they are going to be driving your story forward. Okay. Your enemies of your PCs, they're going to be in a competitive negative relationship with your party, with your characters. whether it's the big bad evil guy, minions of the BBEG, or just some independent opportunists who are trying to take advantage of whatever the conflict is. They're competing, and the PCs are going to be struggling against them. Look at your allies. It's probably a cooperative situation. It's a positive interaction, but they're the ones training your characters. They're maybe the patrons giving them jobs, paying the rewards. Maybe it's an organization that your PCs are a member of, a guild that's helping them get resources and materials and contacts and all that stuff. They again are driving the story. If they didn't exist, where would your PCs go to level up? Right? I mean, where would they go to get the reward money from? And then even neutral parties, they can have a variable impact on your players, but that interaction, whether they're hostile or friendly, that's a diplomatic thing, that's a negotiation thing. That is also driving the plot. Okay, your players are interacting with these, and depending on how they behave and what responses they get, that's going to steer the ship one way or the other, right? So the NPCs are the most important part of the story. Hate to tell you, but because I know a lot of people, oh, the PCs and the players. The PCs and the players, they only are able to do things in your game world because there are NPCs there helping them, fighting against them, providing them resources, etc. Your PCs are not in a vacuum. So they may have really grand backstories and intricate, whatever histories and stuff, but it's always tied to the game world, which is run by the NPCs, run by you through your NPCs. So you really got to kind of lock your brain in on that concept, and again, not to say just, oh, your players can't do anything, not at all, but they're doing things in response to what your NPCs and their groups, their factions are up to. And that's kind of my last point here, is that when we talk about any of these things, enemies, allies, or neutral parties, these are not just individuals. Start thinking about the groups, the factions that they are part of, because that is, to me, where the real fun is when you're trying to figure out who's driving your game world. Okay, you've got an individual big bad evil person, like I've been talking about this Nexus entity, this AI Arcano intelligence in previous couple videos, and I'm going to talk about it again today. This is sort of this individual, this entity, but it has drones and minions that follow it. There are factions that are trying to take advantage of what it's doing. So this is where the complexity and the fun is, right? You have the big bad evil guy out there that the players want to take down, but all those other bits and pieces that are around it are as important, if not more important, than just that BBEG. So think about like what gangs you might have, criminal gangs, any religious orders, merchant guilds, artisan collectives, scholarly organizations, military units or brigades, adventuring groups, competitive groups perhaps. They're all part of this story, all part of this world, and each one of them has drivers, restrainers. They have energy that they're putting out into your world, and your PCs are just trying to navigate through that, but they're at the mercy of the currents, the mercy of the winds, right? And that's what the NPCs are representing. So if you digest that concept, we're going to take it into my game world, right? I want to talk about how do we take this information and use it to develop who is driving the world, because you're about to take your characters that your players make and drop them into your game world, and you're going to put them in a location and give them some clues to go and do something. But who is dropping the clues? Who is pushing them in a direction? Who is going to try to stop them? Those are your NPCs. So what I want to do is spend some time talking about my game, talking about how to go about creating some of these NPCs, specifically some factions. So I want to take some time and use some of the examples that we've been developing in the last couple videos to create some groups that are going to steer the ship in my game world. As an example, again, your game world is going to be different. How you handle it's going to be different than what I'm going to do. But using mine as an example, hopefully you'll get kind of the idea of again, I'm not trying to say this is what you should do, because I don't know, this is what I'm doing. So I just want to share my methods, and I'm gonna be using my muse again to help me. I'm gonna be relying upon Chatty Cathy, ChatGPT to help me develop some enemies, some allies, and some neutral parties. So let's pause the vid for a second while I get that queued up, and then we're going to go ahead and delve into this process together, so I can showcase, my method of how I would do it. All right, here is Kathy, my muse. ChatGPT, I am using GPT-4. That's the more advanced version. You have to pay for it, but I do find that it gives me better results. So let's use this for this process. So what we're going to try to do is get the muse's help with creating and coming up with some novel, unique factions that are specific to my game world. Now, in the past, I've used third-party resources, like a Cobalt Press resource or something to that effect, some old, D&D stuff, and I've taken factions or cults or whatever and adapted it and adjusted it for my game world, and it's worked great. I want to try this with AI, with Chatty GPT here, Chatty Cathy, and see how it works. So if you go back to what I was talking about with Kathy in the last couple sessions here, last couple of videos, we were plugging in some discussion about starting the game and, where to drop the players off, that kind of thing, and how to take some of the plots and reduce it into smaller intertwined bits. And I did a whole huge, conversation that's gone over like 2, 3 different videos. And so, as a cautionary thing, I'm going to start a brand new chat today, because what I've found in the past is that the bigger these conversations get, the more easily Kathy can get lost. Now, I think as she gets more robust of a system, this won't be as bad. But we got a lot of stuff, and it's kind of, meandered back and forth between conversations. So I want to start a new chat. And the problem with the new chat, though, is it gives me a fresh start, and I don't have to worry about any of this extraneous, tangential, conversations interrupting the flow. But the problem is when you start a new chat, it's not like you or me, and we can say, "Oh, I had a conversation yesterday that I can access." She doesn't access your old conversations. This is a brand new chat, a brand new pocketed conversation that she doesn't have any reference of anything I've discussed. So it's risky because of that. So in order to start a fresh chat, to take advantage of that aspect, you need to reestablish your baseline with her. So I need to repeat some of the stuff I've told her in the past so that she can pick up where we left off. So what I'm going to do, and I've worked on, I don't want to say a script, but I worked on this reteaching here. So let me go ahead and fire it in here so you can see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is tell her what I want, and I'm going to refresh her memory with some stuff. So here's what I'm saying. Go ahead and space this out for a second. All right, so here's what we got. I tell her, I need your help coming up with ideas for allies, enemies, and neutral third parties that a group of adventurers might encounter in my grimdark fantasy game world known as the Vaults. So I'm reestablishing the game world. The Vaults is best described as a subterranean pancake stack of caverns lying miles beneath the world's surface and inhabited by thousands of sentient creatures belonging to the typical races common to realms such as Pathfinder's Darklands and Dungeons and Dragons Underdark. The Vaults game is remastered to use My Vaults. Do this. My Vaults game. My Vaults game is being remastered to use Pathfinder 2e rules, and it starts and the campaign starts 6 months after an apocalypse that was caused by a pair of game altering events. So I'm rehashing, I'm re-summarizing what we've talked about in the previous couple chats so that she's kind of coming back online with what I want to do. And then I say one event was the escape of an insane Arcano Intelligence AI from magnetic containment aboard a derelict alien ship that is in process of assimilating organic and mechanical that is now in the process of assimilating organic and mechanical life forms to serve as its drones to spread its consciousness even further. The other event was the activation of the alien ship's FTL, faster than light Zeus drive, that has emitted a bubble of chaotic energy that is slowly swallowing the world, swallowing the vaults into another dimension, as well as mutating life forms with its leaking radiation and allowing for the release of bizarre creatures from the other dimension. From this other dimension. These allies these, let's see, I'm gonna reset what I'm saying. The allies, enemies, let's do this. Let me rephrase. The allies, enemies, and neutral third parties can be individuals or an organized faction or organized factions. Regardless, they need to be related to one of the central plots of this campaign, which fits the theme of survival, freedom versus tyranny, and chaos versus order. So again, I'm reestablishing what's known from our previous conversations, and I'm telling her the new stuff that I'm looking for. And now, before I go ahead and say, "Hey, give me what you got," I want to pause her because there's more information I want to feed her, and I don't want to try to dump it all right here because it's another couple, pages of stuff. So you don't want to overload her thinking. So I'm going to say instead, would you like to know the plot so far to improve your suggestions for allies, enemies, and neutral third parties? So I'm kind of talking to her like a little child, right? Repeating myself multiple times. And now she's probably going to say, "Sure, tell me what you got." So there you go. She's starting in the chat. "Sure, a brief outline of the plot so far would be beneficial to tailor my suggestions more closely to the events and themes of your campaign. However, based on the details you've provided, I can start generating ideas for allies, enemies, and neutral third parties that might fit into your world. Once you provide more plot details, we can refine these suggestions." So she's already ready to go. I'm like, whoa, slow your roll. I'm going to go ahead and give her my next bit of information. So I'm going to tell her about the plot. The two plots and what we've got here. Bang. Here we go. Let's see what I'm going to do now. Unfortunately, when you paste this stuff, there we go. Does it give me the spacing? Yeah, sometimes it gives you the spacing, sometimes not. So let's see. It'll give you double spaces, but not single. So here's what I'm going to tell her. So I say the plot so far is based on the intertwining of two major cataclysmic events outlined below. And so I say, first, an insane AI created during ancient times and driven mad by its loss of connection to its original creators. By the way, you're probably going to get some spoilers here. So for those of you that have been following along, and each time I kind of talk about this, I might spoil a little bit more. If you're one of my players, that might bother you. But if you're just, passively viewing, then it's not going to affect you. Anyway, so this AI was driven mad by its loss of connection to its original creators that have gone extinct, and it has begun. So first, there's this AI created during ancient times and driven mad by its loss of connection to its original creators. I kind of just put this by the extinct loss of its connection to its original. Let's see, I'm going to kind of put this in parentheses. Gone extinct. Just kind of shorten that up. Has begun a process of assimilating organic and mechanical life forms using microscopic clockwork machines called nanites. The nanites take over the life form's body and mind, converting it into a servant to the extreme of being a drone of Nexus. Nexus's immediate goal is freeing the other parts of its greater consciousness called the Cadmus, which is trapped as the programming of a celestial machine known as the Gate of Aetheratus. The gate is under the control of a demigod called Ramb, whose sole focus is rebuilding the gate to its former glory and using it to seal away the aberrant threats from beyond the void. Dun dun dun. Nexus wishes to reunite with the greater Cadmus and use its power to completely assimilate the life forms of the vaults in its crazed attempt at somehow restoring its purpose of service and protection given to it by its ancient creators. It sees the enslavement of life forms as the means to this end. Nexus is currently inhabiting a refugee camp, but it is remaining secretive and hidden It works through worker drones who are disseminating nanites to unsuspecting refugees that are looking for safety from the dangers and the chaos of the vaults, which are spreading since the cataclysmic activation of an alien spaceship's engine that is leaking chaotic warp energy into the vaults. Second, an alien vessel known as the Nebulon was the flagship of a terraforming invasion launched ages ago. It was shot down by the dwarves of a long fallen empire. These same dwarves were the ones who created the Cadmus AI to operate their mechanical construct, Gearforged, which served the empire and helped raise it to glorious heights. The Nebulon was buried deep beneath the earth and forgotten for thousands of years as it lay in ruins in the depths of the vaults. Ultimately, it was rediscovered by the gem dragonborn vassals of the kingdom of Sardior, the ruby dragon, as they attempted to rebuild their city following a devastating war in the vaults between armies of chaos and darkness and armies of order and light from the surface world. The Dragonborn used the powerful technology in the ship to help raise their new city to magnificent stature. The city, Tal Tabila, became a magnet for the survivors of the war who needed safety and security as they recovered from the aftermath of bloodshed. One group of survivors were a colony of, it's probably called these, I think they're Fomorians or Formians is what they call them in Pathfinder, the ant insecty people, native insectoids who came to Tal Tabila seeking refuge. The Dragonborn welcomed them and provided food and shelter while they recovered. This, unbeknownst to the Dragonborn, the Formians were infected with Cadmus nanites as the ancient AI had been awakened and put on the move following the war that shook the vaults. The Cadmus nanites began assimilating the Dragonborn almost immediately, and the nascent kingdom was brought to its knees within a few short weeks. The greatest of them, of the Dragonborn, the greatest of the Dragonborn, greatest of the dragon lords, we'll say, managed to contain the Cadmus spread by trapping the AI within the Nebulon, using the alien technology inside to seal the AI within powerful magnetic fields in a secure level of the ship. In the centuries that followed, the Dragonborn kingdom collapsed beneath an onslaught of undead, and the Nebulon and its dangerous prison were forgotten. But when a new faction rose to power, the Cult of the Black Earth, its leader Rob rediscovered the Cadmus and took most of its consciousness that was trapped in multiple sealed magnetic pods to his machine, the Gate of Aetheratus, where it was trapped once more within its crystalline matrix. However, there was one partition left behind, cut off from the collective Cadmus. This consciousness adapted, forming a new independent entity calling itself Nexus. Nexus lay within the bowels of the Nebulon, trapped and desperate for escape for decades. Trapped and desperate to escape for decades. Sorry, I gotta fix some of my grammar as I go. Trapped until it tricked. Trapped that is until it tricked a Gearforged Delver named Onyx to lead a party of adventurers to free it with promises of being able to resurrect their fallen comrade. Onyx was a member of one of my player teams. During the encounter with the treacherous Nexus, Event 1, the party activated a portion of the Nebulon's alien technology, which in turn energized its reality-bending chaos energy, known as the Chaos Engine, known as the Zeus Drive. It's based upon an Alcubierre engine. The Nexus escaped the ship, taking Onyx's body as its own and slipping away to the nearest settlement to restart its assimilation plot, the refugee camp at Drop Point Despair. Meanwhile, the Zeus Drive, now fully charged, fired and produced a warp bubble of utter blackness, meant to fold space and allow it to travel faster than light. However, such a machine was never intended to be activated within a gravity field of a mass such as the world contained in the vaults, and thus it began swallowing all matter came in contact with, dragging the ship, the ruins it was buried beneath, and parts of the city of pedestal above into a mysterious pocket dimension. The spread of this chaos bubble was only halted by the sacrifice of a powerful sorceress, a child with immeasurable power seemingly granted by a crystalline horn born of a shard mind. However, the bubble was only temporarily arrested And in the months since the cataclysm unfolded, it has slowly, inexorably spread outward, leaking and emitting highly toxic chaos energy that mutates and twists all it contacts. Now, I'm going to say this now, so I wanted to pause. Now, before you make any suggestions for allies, enemies, and neutral parties, you and I should say, you and I have already worked out a method to intertwine the possible plot threads, the possible plots above, resulting plots above, shorten this, as well as outline for a pair of factions related to the struggle between chaos and order. Can I provide this information? So again, I want her to hold up and not start jumping to writing anything. Let's see if she listens. Can you provide? Absolutely. It'd be great to have as much context as possible. Please provide the intertwined plot. So she wants to know more. All right, good. This is working the way I want it. Because if you don't tell her to stop, she's going to immediately start firing out stuff. And you're going to be like, whoa, 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 I got more to tell you. All right, so here we go. I'm going to put in this other part. I think this is the rest of it. This might be a bit much, but let's go for it. I'm going to try to dump the rest of this now. Boom. Here we go. Let's see if this works. See how this can kind of be tedious? All right, so here we go. The proposal for intertwining the two plots revolving around Nexus and the Chaos Bubble resulted in the following idea. So again, I'm kind of slowly re-explaining, right? And I'm kind of reminding her, what did we just say? What did we just say? Nexus and the Chaos Bubble. Nexus might be drawn to the Chaos Bubble, seeing it as a potential power source. So this is something that her and I had gone and talked about in a previous video. Seen as a potential power source to augment its own, but I've edited it, sorry. Adjusted it, adapted it to my actual game world. So here is what one of the plot threads intertwined would look like. Nexus might be drawn to the Chaos Bubble, seeing it as a potential power source to augment its own capabilities, allowing it perhaps to travel beyond this world in a misguided attempt to find its creators. Or possibly the alien ship could contain technology that can counteracts Nexus's nanites, and the AI wishes to make sure no one learns of them. It would be willing to stop any attempts to enter the alien ship. Players might venture into the warped reality of the Chaos Bubble, seeking the alien ship to shut off its Zeus drive. They might discover Nexus's attempts to infiltrate or harness the ship's systems, leading to efforts to halt its activities, which are being carried out by Nexus's assimilated drones. In addition, we also discussed how a couple of different factions, one representing chaos and the other order, would be involved in this intertwined plot and serve as potential enemies or allies, or both for the PCs. So now I'm starting to lead towards the actual question, right? Neither group is inherently good or evil, but they do not directly work with or serve Nexus or have extensive knowledge of the Nebulon. We speculated about their identity, leadership, motivations, and stakes should either be successful or fail. As a result, we developed the following two groups. And again, I've edited some of this from the last time you saw it. The Harbingers of the Void, these are the agents of chaos. They have a motto from Disorder Ascension. Their leader is Mordrek, the Whisperer of Chaos, a tall, emaciated figure wrapped in tattered robes that move as if alive. Beneath the robes, glimpses of swirling void can be seen, and his voice is the chorus of whispers. Backstory. Now, this is heavily edited for something that I haven't discussed with you guys before. Backstory. Once a scholar from a pre-cataclysm faction known as the Emerald Order. I think I got that from Kobold Press's Cults book, maybe? Anyway, known as the Emerald Order, that sought to seal away powerful magic lest it fall into the hands of the uninitiated. So he was once the leader of this Emerald Order. He was consumed by the chaotic energies from the Zeus drive as it swallowed his order's lair, which was within the ruins of an ancient library known as Ivyforth Hall, which was the upper levels of the mega dungeon that sat atop the Nebulon. Now he believes he and his ilk were wrong and that magic must be unleashed. Only through embracing chaos can true power and freedom be achieved. Mordrek believes the Nexus and the Chaos Bubble are essential tools to bring about a world reshaped by magical release, free from the constraints he once held sacred. The Nexus must be allowed to assimilate anyone with arcane knowledge and bring them to the Chaos Bubble, which will release their energy as their molecules are torn asunder. Key members are Silthra, the Void Touch. She's a drow witch, so I've changed her from elf warlock, which D&D, but drow is an ancestry that exists in my game world. Witch is a Pathfinder class, so I thought that would be appropriate. She's a drow witch who's made pacts with entities from beyond the void, so something that's discovered inside this chaos bubble. And she's fascinated with the alien tech of the ship and is keen on harnessing its power for the Harbingers. Grolm the Unstable. He's a mutated Nephilim, which is my version of the Goliath here in the vaults. His form is constantly shifts and changes due to exposure to the chaotic energies. He's the muscle and smashes his way through anybody that gets in the way. And then the Harbinger's stake. To them, the Chaos Bubble and Nexus represent the dawn of a new reality. If they succeed, they envision a world of unleashed magic and limitless power where they reign supreme. To fail would mean to remain confined to the stifling limitations of the known universe uh, they once sought to create. So they were once on the side of order. To exist in a prison they created for themselves. I don't mean the known universe. There we go. To exist in a prison they created for themselves. There we go. Already don't need to be redundant. Then the other group that we came up with, I renamed these because this was a faction I had already created, which were in service of one of my primordials that I've homebrewed for my game world. They're known as the Luminite Lattice. They are the agents of order. In balance lies truth. Their leader is Seraphel, the Luminary Guardian. And I've recast her and the other two followers as shard mines, which again are a ancestry of my game world. So Seraphel appears, she's a majestic being radiating soft light with armor resembling crystallized starlight and wings that shimmer like the aurora. Backstory, she's a gatekeeper shard mind. Servant of the primordial Kavarka, the radiant sovereign, Seraphel was appointed to safeguard the vaults from imbalances. After the emergence of the chaos bubble and seeing the threats of the Nexus, she mobilizes her order to restore stability. Seraphel believes that balance between order and chaos is the true essence of existence. The unchecked spread of the chaos bubble and Nexus's ambitions would result in catastrophic imbalance. So she's not like an extreme like law. We must destroy, everything. She's like there has to be balance between the two. So she might be almost a neutral third party. Key members, although they lean towards order, I think. Key members, Lyria, the keeper of discs, a wise crystal mind shard mind, who dedicates her life to documenting and understanding the laws of magic and reality. She might have knowledge crucial to countering the Nexus and stabilizing the chaos bubble. And then there's Calum, the blade of order. He's an eternal blade shard mind with a sword that can cut through reality itself. He's the martial force of the lattice dedicated to restoring balance. What's at stake for them? They fight to preserve the delicate equilibrium of the vaults and the greater cosmos. Success ensures the continued stability and predictability of the world, while failure could mean fracture and the shattering of the very structure of reality. And then I'm going to go on to tell her something else. You and I then propose the following ideas for how these two groups could fit into the intertwined plot. The Harbingers of the Void know of the Chaos Bubble's power and to transform and want to exploit it to get Nexus to be transmutative. They actively are trying to prevent the players from interfering with the bubble's spread or Nexus's attempts to use it, seeing them as obstacles for their vision of chaotic utopia. And then for the Harbingers of the Void, Nexus needs to continue its assimilation as quickly as possible. It needs the power to gain. It needs the power to gain control over not just the vaults, but the surface world above. This will allow it to acquire all arcane blooded people. Okay, there's something. All right, so here's for them what's important. So the Harbingers, sorry, little brain lock there for a second. So for the Harbingers, Nexus needs to continue its assimilation as fast as possible. It needs the power to gain control over not just the vaults, but the surface world above. This will allow it to acquire all arcane blooded people that exist on the planet. Once complete, the Harbingers can drive Nexus into the chaos bubble, which will release all the arcane energy connected to it, causing the bubble to complete its glorious detonation and release all trapped arcane energy at once, remaking the entire world with glorious chaos. Nexus should be allowed to enter the chaos bubble and given access to the Nebulon systems. It will have the knowledge to fully restart the alien ship's engines, which will give it the ability to surge out of the vaults and carry its assimilation process to the surface world and beyond. This will allow glorious chaos to expand beyond the confines of just this world. Okay, that's what the chaos people are looking for. Meanwhile, the Luminite Lattice, they might approach the players, offering guidance on how to navigate the warped reality of the chaos bubble and knowledge on combating Nexus's nanites. They're a beacon of hope in the chaos, though they may also have their own rigid ideologies which might not align with the player's goals. For the Luminite Lattice, here's what they're looking for. The chaos bubble needs to collapse back into the ship, drawing all the warped creatures it has created with it, removing them from existence. If Nexus can be drawn along with it, along with all its assimilated drones, all the better. This will require gaining knowledge of the Nebulon systems and operation from within the ship, likely a one-way trip for whomever activates the controls or sabotages the Zeus drive. Also, Nexus might be able to be stopped by exposure to Devoidia, one of the Radiant Sovereign's sentient crown stones. If the insane AI can be infected with the jet's entropic properties, then the magic jets, I should say, the magic jets, jet type of stone, entropic properties, and then brought into contact with the chaos bubble, it should cause a fusion of the entire vault, permanently sealing everything away into a crystal devoid of energy. Now I get to the final question. So I've retaught her all this stuff. Based on this information, can you propose 3 enemy factions that would oppose a party that was actively working on this intertwined plot of the Nexus and Chaos Bubble? You may use one or both of the factions we already discussed, Harbingers of the Void, Luminite Lattice, edit either as needed, or come up with with completely novel concepts, your choice. All right, so I've just given her a whole bunch of lore dump, right? But each time I gave her a chunk, I asked her if it's okay to continue. So hopefully she's absorbing this information. If you don't kind of pause like that, oftentimes she'll get off track and start firing stuff at you, and you're not ready, and then it sucks because it's uninformed, right? Anyway, I've given her everything that I have, right? Everything in my head, everything in my notes, everything in my revisions from previous conversations with her, right? Boom, let's see what she comes up with. So that's it, right? There's nothing else here. So everything else is then what she's going to say. Boom. Let's see if she comes up. All right, certainly, here are 3 enemy factions that can oppose the party working on the intertwined plot of the Nexus and the Chaos Bubble. So it looks like she's going to be 3 brand new ones, not even using the 2 that she already helped me generate. So the 2 I just talked about, the Harbingers and the Luminite Lattice, were partially created by her, the initial ideas, and then I've revised both with the Luminite Lattice being the most extensive revisions because I already had them in my game world. All right, so let's see what she's coming up with. She's still going. I mean, boom, boom, 1, 2, 3, fired away. All right. All right, let's start reading through what she's got. Okay, so the Enclave of Twilight Echoes motto: in shadows we move, in silence we strike. Leader is Aelenar, the Phantom Seer. Appearance, she looks almost ethereal, draped in dark, shifting cloaks with eyes that shimmer like starlight. Once keepers of forbidden knowledge, this group possesses secrets of the vaults that even the ancient dwarves didn't know. Some say that they have been around since before the Cadmus AI was even created. That's from before the Duran Empire. They believe that the universe thrives in duality and that the rise of Nexus or the spread of the chaos bubble will disrupt this duality. However, they wish to control both entities and harness their energies for their own purpose, believing that only they have the wisdom to do so. Motivations: they seek to capture Nexus and tether the chaos bubble, and not to shut them down, but to harness and control them. Damn. Key members: Thralinor, the Shadow Weaver, an enigmatic rogue who has the ability to move through shadows. He's the Enclave's chief spy and information gatherer. Oh, is that Eledris, the Echo Mage, a mage who can manipulate sound and vibrations. She can extract secrets in the very walls of the vaults. That's crazy. Stake, They wish to maintain the duality of the universe, but under their dominion. They fear the unchecked spread of either Nexus or the Chaos Bubble, but also fear any other group gaining control. It's almost like they're trying to play both sides. Huh. All right, the Fractured Pact. This is the all right, second one, the Fractured Pact. Through fractures, the true essence is revealed. Leader, Draknor, breaker of bonds. Appearance, a once noble paladin, now his armor's cracked, revealing fissures of glowing energy. He exudes an aura of dominance. Maybe he's one of the stony Oriat. Backstory, Draknor was a champion of unity, fighting to bring factions together, but when Nexus and the Chaos Bubble emerged, he saw them as revelations, showing that reality is meant to be fractured and that unity is a delusion. That's funny. Motivations, Draknor wishes to harness the Chaos Bubble to fracture the reality of the vaults even further, believing that true essence is revealed only when something's broken. This guy's messed up. He views Nexus as a threat, not because of its assimilation, but because it might bring unity in its own twisted way. Key members: Male, the Riftblade, warrior skilled in tearing rifts in reality, and a devoted follower of Draknor's ideology. Vela, Whisperer of the Cracks. That's not a good title. Oh, she's the Whisperer of the Cracks. A seer who communicates with the fractured voices from the rifts and the cracks of the vaults. Stake, they see the Chaos Bubble and Nexus as tools, but their ultimate aim is to shatter the unified reality, believing that in fragmentation, true essence is found. So it sounds like they want the bubble to blow up. Weird. Order of the Silent Void. Embrace the void, for it is the only true reality. Leader Zelthra avoids embrace. Appearance appears as a living silhouette with only her cold visible. She's like a shadow. Cold visible eyes. Cold glowing eyes are visible. Backstory: worshippers of the void, they see the Chaos Bubble as a manifestation of the silent void. They believe that all creation is but a blip, an anomaly, and the true state of existence is void. These guys are like pure chaos worshippers. Maybe they're the servants of chaos who wants to break free of its maze trap. Motivations: they wish to expand the Chaos Bubble, consuming the entirety of the vaults, and eventually the world, returning everything to the state of silent void. They see Nexus as an entity that might resist this void and therefore must be eliminated. I love it. Key members: Nerion, the Silence Keeper, a monk skilled in negating sounds and movements. He's the chief enforcer of the Order's will. I love these cool, like, sort of titles and, like, what their abilities are. It's very unique. Lyrel, the Void's Breath, a mage capable of summoning void energies and creating pockets of silent void. Stake, to them, both Nexus and the Chaos Bubble are parts of the greater puzzle. While they wish to expand the bubble, they see Nexus as an aberration that must be silenced. Love it. They're going to try to take out Nexus. In these factions, you have a diverse set of motivations and ideologies that can oppose the party's efforts in various ways. Like it? Some see the party's direct threats, while others might view them as obstacles to a larger goal. All of them can be woven in the complex tapestry of the vault's political and magical struggles, for sure. All right, I'm really liking what she's come up with. I mean, it was unique. I don't know if I need 3 more villain groups, but more is always good, right? All right, let's try this again, but this time I want her to focus on allies. So I'm going to ask this next question. Can you propose 3 allies or allied factions that would support a party actively working along this intertwined plot? Bang. Let's see if she says here. So now I'm going to flip the script and see, what about friendly groups? Absolutely. Here are 3 ally factions that can support the party working on the intertwined plot of the Nexus and the Chaos Bubble. We've got the Echoing Remnants. All right, let's see what they are. From the past, the future is forged. Leaders Eldris, the time-worn. Appearance: an ancient-looking figure wearing armor and robes adorned with relics from various eras. His eyes gleam with memories of ages gone by. Backstory: this faction is made up of survivors from past eras and civilizations that have witnessed the consequences of unchecked power. So maybe these were some of the ancient civilizations that have been here in the vaults and have collapsed in the last ages, which there are many. That have witnessed the consequences of unchecked power. They have seen civilizations rise and fall and believe in learning from the past to protect the future. Motivations: they aim to prevent the Chaos Bubble and Nexus from repeating the mistakes of the past. They are keen historians and can provide the party with invaluable information and artifacts that may aid their quest. Key members: Silvra, Guardian of Memories, a keeper of ancient library filled with tomes from various eras. She can provide insights and clues to the party. This is another thing on a side note is with Pathfinder, there are some classes that are sort of non-traditional uh, fightery types, right? So I could see, stuff like this could make for a nice, like let's say an investigator or something like that. I don't know if that's the optimal class here, but you can tie a lot of the cool, unique Pathfinder classes to some of these NPCs, and even though let's say a player character would never play a seer or whatever the heck, oracle because they're too weak or whatever, whatever people's reasons are. But you can have your NPCs be those things and kind of bring out that cool class flavor that a normal player wouldn't want to play. Or then you got Bron, the relic wielder, a warrior who has collected and mastered various ancient weapons and artifacts. He's eager to lend his strength and knowledge to those who fight for the future. Stake. They believe that history must not be forgotten, and by aiding the party, they hope to prevent another cataclysmic event from joining the annals of history. The Elemental Enclave. That's another allied group. Nature's Fury, Our Strength. Leaders: Tavara, Warden of the Four. Ooh, maybe kineticists. Love it. Appearance: Tavara embodies the elements with her form shifting subtly between earth, fire, water, and air. Yeah, she's like mastered the four main elements. Sweet. Backstory: Protectors of natural balance. This faction consists of druids, elementalists, kineticists, shall we say, and beings tied to the primal forces of the world. They view the chaos bubble and nexus as unnatural aberrations that threaten the elemental balance. Motivations: they wish to restore elemental harmony by aiding the party in their quest. So these could be, geniekin, like the Oriad, the Ifrits, etc. from Pathfinder's game world. Genasi is what you call them in, you know, 5e. Anyway, they wish to restore elemental harmony by aiding the party in their quest. With their deep connection to the natural world, they can offer elemental aid from controlling environmental challenges to summoning elemental creatures. Love it. Key members: Regine, Stormcaller, a master of air and lightning. He can provide powerful aerial reconnaissance. I don't know how that would work too well in the depths here, or the vaults, but maybe. And control over weather patterns. Yeah, that might not work so well. It might have to be a water or something like that. Leora, Heart of the Deep. Well, there's your water. Maybe he's fire. Flame Caller. Leora, Heart of the Deep. With her bond to water and aquatic creatures, she can help navigate subterranean waterways and summon creatures from the depths. Maybe she's one of the Kuatoa who have not had a chance to have anybody play one of those. I'd have to figure out what the Pathfinder equivalent will ultimately be, but I did have Kuatoa as a potential race you could play in my game. This could be one of the Azer, the fiery dwarves, or maybe it's one of the Ifrit, one of the fire elemental geniekin, if I go fire. Stake. To them, the elemental balance of the world is paramount. The unchecked growth of the chaos bubble and Nexus's ambition threatens this balance, and they will do whatever it takes to restore it. The Seekers of Equilibrium, that's the third allied group. Motto: between light and dark we tread. Leaders: Mural, the balance keeper. Appearance: Mural's form is half cloaked in shadows, with the other half glowing brightly, perfectly symbolizing the balance she represents. Backstory: this faction believes in the harmonious balance between order and chaos. They are not zealots of strict order nor advocates of complete chaos, but instead tread the middle path. Motivations: they believe that both the chaos bubble and nexus, if left unchecked, would disrupt the equilibrium of existence. They are willing to offer strategic advice, sanctuary, and resources to the party. You know what would make a cool ancestry here would be one of the Kalini, or the dark ones, the Darklings, because they're shadowy exterior, but they have like brilliant illumination inside. So if you know anything about the Darklings, dark ones, they explode into brilliant flame light when they die. So that could be some weird version of it here with this mural. Key members: Solara, the Yin Yang Mage, a spellcaster who can harness both light and dark, providing versatile magical support. Callan, the Dual Blade, a warrior proficient in both offensive and defense. I like this. So they're going with this whole duality thing with this whole group. Yin and Yang, the Dual Blade, this Janice looking chick up here. So he's offense, defense. So one blade's defensive, parrying, the other one's offensive and hacking into your body. Love it. Stake, Their ultimate aim is to maintain the balance of existence. They view the party's goals as aligned with theirs and are willing to lend their support to ensure equilibrium prevails. That's awesome. I'm getting so many ideas just reading these things right now. This is cool. These ally factions can provide unique resources, insights, and support to the party as they navigate the challenges of the intertwined plot. By teaming up with these groups, the party can gain valuable allies in their struggle against Casball and Nexus. And then the other thing is that these organizations don't have to be just limited to this plot. I've got these other 3 potential intertwined plots that, these groups could, interact with those other things happening too. So I like that. All right, last thing I want to do and see if she can do this one. Let's see. She's done a great job so far, I think. So here's my last thing. I wanted to see what she can do. Lastly, can you propose 3 neutral parties, individuals or factions, that could have necessary resources for a party working this plot, but that wouldn't necessarily take sides for or against Nexus or the Chaos Bowl? Boom, let's see what she thinks here. Because a couple of these she's proposed already could fall into this category, but I want to see if you specifically ask for just a neutral group and see what she comes up with. All right, here's 3 neutral parties that could be pivotal to the story, offering resources without directly taking a side. There's the Arcane Syndicate. Knowledge is power, and power has a price. Magister Vorn, the unaligned sage. Appearance, stoic figure in ornate, ever-shifting robes that seem to contain galaxies within their folds. His eyes remain hidden behind a veil of shimmering energy. I do think she's kind of being redundant with some of these descriptions because it's like the 3rd or 4th now where the person is shimmering starlight, whatever, void looking stuff. A couple of those is cool, but I don't know. This might be too much. Backstory. The Syndicate is a group of merchants, mages, and scholars who traffic in arcane artifacts, secrets, and forbidden lore. Kind of ties into a group of mine I already created, known as the Lorien Society. Is kind of like this. Their allegiance is to the knowledge and profit, not ideology. So I could easily take the Arcane Syndicate and call them the Lorien Society. Or maybe this is an offshoot of the Loriens. We'll see how this goes. Motivations. They're interested in the Casbah and Nexus as objects of study, potential sources of profit. They could offer spells, artifacts, or information for a hefty price. You've got Lyria, which I think I've seen this name once already. The Void Broker, a dealer specializing in rare and potent artifacts. She might possess items that can aid the party for the right composition. And there's Thane, the Lore Keeper, a librarian who guards the Syndicate's vast collection of texts. He can offer clues or knowledge, but always at a price. The other thing this is starting to make me remember or think about is one of my player characters when they left the game or when the game ended wanted their character to was retiring from this whole adventuring thing and wanted to just focus on protecting lore and magic and books and things like that and wanted to go find and establish like a library or something of that nature. So what if this group was his mercenary outreach group that was going, or he was contracting with this group that could tie this idea into one of my old characters and kind of full circle bring this new lore faction back to the old game. I like that idea. Stake. Their neutrality stems from their pragmatism. They see opportunity in any outcome and adapt to the circumstances for their benefit. The nomads of the Nexus. In flux we thrive. Their leader is Rael, the wanderer between. Rael wears clothing of many styles and epochs, a patchwork representing his travels. His skin bears shifting tattoos depicting his journeys. This faction consists of explorers, drifters, and adventurers who traverse the vaults, studying anomalies and making their living by scavenging and trading. They've mapped parts of the Chaos Bubble's periphery and have salvaged tech from the vicinity of the Nexus. Their intel could be invaluable, and they might share it for resources or favors. Okay, maybe they've captured some of Nexus's drones or something. Key members: Myra, the Echo Seer, Mira, an oracle with the ability to sense disturbances in the vaults. She can provide hints about Nexus's movements or bubble fluctuations. That's cool. Definitely might need to consult her if you're planning on trying to pierce the bubble at some point. Yorn, the Relic Hunter, an expert in ancient and alien tech. He's collected various devices that could aid the party. Stake. They're survivors adapting to the ever-changing environment of the vaults. While they have no vested interest in the overarching conflict, they're always looking for opportunities to ensure their survival. I'm liking these ideas already. I was kind of hesitant. I don't think she would come up with anything that would be unique for these neutral parties, but she's doing it. Good job, Kathy. The Silent Observer's motto from Shadows We Watch. Leader Kalthus, the Eye Unseen. Maybe he's like some beholder kin. There was a beholder NPC in my game. Maybe this is related. Let's see where we're going with this. Appearance cloaked in ethereal garments that make him nearly invisible, and only his glinting eyes. Again, there's another. They're invisible, and you can't see them except for eyes. Backstory: an enigmatic group of beings who believe in observing and documenting events without intervening. They've been watching the Nexus and Chaos Bubble developments from a safe distance. I kind of like the idea of these maybe being beholder kin or something. Maybe they got like the head of a beholder, but like a humanoid body. Interesting. Motivations. They might be convinced to share their observations given the party's strategic advantage. However, they'd require the party to undertake a task or provide them with unique experiences in return. Key members: Scylla, the Whispering Archivist, keeper of their vast knowledge. She's adept at providing minute details about observed events. Doran, the unobtrusive shadow, an expert in stealth and infiltration. He's observed the Nexus up close without being detected. Stake. Their primary goal is to chronicle significant events in the universe. They remain neutral to ensure their observations aren't tainted by personal stakes or biases. Each of these neutral entities can offer a unique angle and challenge to the party, making their journey more layered and multifaceted. Whether it's through bartering, negotiation, or mutual interests, these neutral parties can introduce new dimensions to the intertwined plot of Nexus and the Chaos Bubble. Guys, I'm telling you, this is fantastic stuff. I mean, if you consider all the stuff she just came up with and look back at, what I was trying to do, delving. So I got this game starting, right, in a month. I just got 9 new factions plus the original 2. So I got 11 potential factions I could use today, right? I mean, they're fleshed out enough that you've got something to use. So now I can start thinking about how I can take those factions and use them as either providers of clues, um, resources, questions, quests, whatever. You can see how they would definitely be drivers of my story, right? They're going to want stuff. They're going to be looking for allies. They're going to be looking to stop the party or, whatever, right? Or the party might need to go to them for things. So you can see how what I was talking about with this idea that your NPCs are the drivers of the story. Because any of these groups could definitely get your PCs up and out of the tavern and going and doing something immediately. Chatty Cathy, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. She's a great muse. So if you're hesitant about using AI, hopefully some of these videos you're watching showcases that it's not a big scary thing. And she's not like writing my campaign for me. I mean, she's giving me some ideas. I can use some of the stuff she just gave me, and I can now take a couple of these factions and flesh them out. I can ask her, hey, which of these factions would be great to provide a clue for session one, that kind of thing, and where the party is in whatever environment, because I talked about that in my starting the campaign video last one I just did. So maybe I take some of those locations that were suggested or some of those starting points and I fuse or combine them with some of these factions that we're just talking about. And combined now you can have this really robust game world that you're remastering and starting. And then you take what the players are going to give you next, all the PCs who I don't even know who they are yet, and boom, this world's on fire already. I mean, I'm pretty excited about this. This is pretty cool. Anyway, hopefully there was some good information there. Hopefully, seeing how ChatGPT works and you can, go back and forth with it, give it information and guide it. It will give you good stuff. Okay, guaranteed. All right. Hopefully that was useful for you. And if you like to see more, want to get more information, or just digging what I'm talking about, go ahead and like and follow and whatever else you got to do down in the comment section there. And have a good one. Take care.